3,600-year-old pits full of giant hands discovered in Egypt. Pharaoh Ramses III of ancient Egypt. Giant hands, let's keep that in mind. They were giant hands. The excavations were undertaken by the Austrian Archaeological Institute in Cairo in cooperation with the Institute for Egyptology at the University of Vienna. This is by News 10 JL24 on Collective Spark. An astonishing discovery occurred in the fall of 2011 when a team of archaeologists worked in the palace of ancient Avaris in Egypt, found the remains of 16 human hands in 4 graves in the compound. 2 of the pits located in front of the throne room contain 1 hand each, and the other 2 holes located outside the palace have the remaining 14. The team of archaeologists who made the discovery determined that all the bones date to about 3,600 years ago, indicating that they all came from the same ceremony. All the hands appeared to be abnormally long, or even more significant than usual. They were classified into 4 different graves within what scientists believe was the actual Hyksos complex. The Austrian archaeologist Manfred Beitek, in charge of the excavation of the ancient city of Avaris, explained to the Egyptian archaeological newspaper that the hands seemed to support the stories found in the writings and the art of ancient Egypt, this being the first physical evidence of that the soldiers cut off the right hands of their enemies to receive a reward of gold in return. I guess it was like the proof that they did away with their enemies. Now, besides cutting off the enemy's hand being a symbolic means of removing the enemy's force, the meaning of this ceremony would also be supernatural, as this was done in a sacred place and temple as part of a ritual. And so far, there's no evidence to show what kind of people these hands belong to. Let's remember that they're giant hands. Whether the hands belong to Hyksos or Egyptians cannot yet be determined. When Beitak was asked to explain why he believed this ritual might have been performed, he said, "You deprive him of his power forever. Our finding is the first and only physical evidence. Each moat represents a different ceremony," he said. The 2 pits, each containing a hand, were placed directly in front of the throne room. This section of Egypt was once controlled by an occupying force that most historians believed were initially Canaanites, so there may be a connection to the invasion. The other hands, which may have been buried at the same time or a later date, are found on the outer grounds of the palace. These sacrifices are not surprising in an area that faced a foreign invasion. Egyptians often called on their gods to punish invading armies with plagues, famines, or general misfortune. It's possible that these sacrifices were part of a curse against the invading armies. So much more needs to be investigated, but many signs point to this being some ritual for a god or gods. It's not known to whom these hands belonged, but the fact that the hands were abnormally large indicates that these people were specially selected, which is more characteristic of a sacrifice than killing an invading army. 2 hands were buried separately may indicate that these offerings were intended to be incredibly satisfying to the gods. In addition, it could enter the theory of the Hyperborean civilization of the far north, where some ancient writings comment that this civilization was vast, that they came from Lemuria, where the waters of the Indian Sea submerged that continent. This finding could reveal the true story of a civilization of enormous dimensions. The discovery of these giant hands could shed light on ancient, previously discussed stories, which were only fables or inventions of conspiracy theories. Now, there's no mention here about any DNA testing done on these giant hands. This is on Collective Spark by News 10 Gale 24. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.